built on relationships, focused on people, and rooted in the community. Welcome to the Build Blue podcast. Tune in for weekly episodes featuring guests who are building a better tomorrow. You'll hear inspiring stories from industry leaders, business owners, community partners, and our team members. The Build Blue podcast, where construction comes to life. An Apex Construction Group production. Welcome to the Build Blue podcast. My name is Jess Blaze with Apex Construction Group, and we are joined on today's episode by Feeding Our Communities Partners, Focp. You probably know them as the Backpack Food Program. We have Sheri Sander-Silva and Lillie Herbst. Did I say your last name right, Lillie?
You totally got it.
Oh,
yeah.
I should have verified before we hit go, but we got it. So I want to start by thanking you guys for coming in and spending some time with us and giving you a chance to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your roles at Focp.
Yeah, where do you want to start? Over here?
Yeah, sure.
Well, Sheri Sander-Silva, I'm the Executive Director at Feeding Our Communities Partners. I'll be celebrating 7 years within the role in the organization this summer, actually in just a couple of months. And we all, as a small nonprofit, we, as you can imagine, we wear many hats. And so if I were to talk a little to my role, I suppose it's a lot of fund development, relationship development. I do a lot of grant writing and get to work with our we have 8 committees that support our work. And so some of that is actually planning events, which we're going to talk about today as well.
Yes, we are. And I know Lillie has a big hand in those events as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Lillie.
Yeah. So my name is Lillie Herbst. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Focp. And I think if I were to speak, I've been there almost 2 years now. And I think if I were to speak to my role at all, I would say just, if you've heard about Focp in any way, in some way I have to do something with that. So whether that's like social media, website, getting out and meeting people, doing press stuff, I have a little bit of a hand in a lot of those things.
That's a great way to describe a marketing and communications role. Like, if you've heard of our business, I probably had something to do with that. I love that so much. So we ask all of our Apex podcast guests an icebreaker question. And today it is, if you could own and operate any business of your own, what would it be?
Well, and I love this because when I first read it, I thought the intent is probably behind like making money. But I work in nonprofit, and that's not what always my leading factor in selecting a position. But a passion project would be to own some sort of greenhouse or like rare plant store. I would absolutely love that, and that would fill my heart.
You have a lot of plant babies.
I do have a lot of plant babies. We're fortunate enough to have this odd space that's been built onto our house that we use as a solarium. And when we bought the house 6 years ago, we had no idea how our now obsession would literally grow. But it's full. Yes, we have well over 400 plant babies.
Oh my gosh, that is really cool. And I think that could be profitable. I'm not an accountant.
Maybe.
Go back an episode and listen to Brad Botcher from CLA. He could maybe break it down for us, but I love that.
Great.
What about you, Lillie?
I gave a lot of thought to this morning, and I think I would want to own like an apple orchard / cidery. So it combines like the apple orchard, like sort of like cottagecore farmer aesthetic, but also putting in a little bit of booze there. So,
I can see that. Yeah. I can see that in your future.
This is so good. I'm like seeing hats and floral prints.
Straw baskets everywhere.
Yes, like Instagrammable locations.
Exactly.
Love it.
You guys are awesome.
Roaming chickens.
Yes.
Let's talk about Feeding Our Communities Partners, your history, the communities that you serve. Let's really get into the nitty-gritty on Focp because it's an amazing organization.
Yeah. Well, I think we can tag team this one. We're a locally developed nonprofit. So we were developed right here in the greater Mankato area. And the effort started in 2009. The nonprofit was incorporated in 2010. So we're still a fairly young organization. We'd like to say that we're growing to maturity, but we just celebrated, it's going to be 12 years this March. So our efforts really started with the Backpack Food Program, which was based on other successful models or similar efforts across the nation. But since then, we've really fine-tuned our efforts and then further developed our services to reach additional age groups. And so I know we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution as well during our time, but today in our current state, we're serving K through 12 within 5 local school districts.
Wow. And let's talk about what that service looks like.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool too is we just actually did some of the math. And if there was a student in 2010 when we started who was in kindergarten receiving our services, today they will be graduating high school. So, and as those students sort of like graduate themselves, this year our programs have actually expanded into those high schools. So it's like the programs have grown along with them, so we can continue serving. So
that gives me the goosebumps.
I know. I'm one of those people who like cries pretty easily. So I just like I figured that out, and then I was like a mess the rest of the afternoon.
I know. I'm like, I have tears in my eyes. Ignore me.
Yeah. So our very first programs do sort of like the service areas. We provide food on the weekends, and we provide breakfast, lunch, and a snack, just like they would get during the school day. And the idea is that they get to come back to school fresh and ready to go. And it's this sort of the similar model for the middle school program, but we also provide some snacks at different schools. And then our high school program operates as like a food pantry. So the idea is that students get to start making their own health and nutrition choices, especially as they grow into adults. We can help them along that way of like, how do you put a meal together? Things like that. And then our 2 summer programs, one is a monthly distribution of those weekend food packs. That's the summer pack program. It's very fun. We deliver right to their doorsteps because they're not in school. So we have to get it to them that way. And then the other one is our Stomp program, which operates as like a weekday like lunch pickup. So we'll have volunteers actually grab a bunch of meals, and they will drive from like food desert location to food desert location around the area, and they'll wait for a set amount of time and serve lunches to all the students who arrive then. Or I guess not students at that point, it's the summer kids. Yeah. So those are sort of our big main 5 programs.
And are the 2 summer programs, what is the age of those programs?
We're still serving K through 12. This is the first year that we're serving K through 12 across the board. And the Stomp program that Lillie mentioned is a free lunch service to those students that live in those areas. It's been a new effort for us over the last 3 years and was really inspired by the pandemic.
Sure.
As other services had kind of ceased to exist, we stepped in and are trying to help in whatever way we can.
Let's talk about the pandemic, because it was such an interesting time for everyone, but specifically because your program is school-based. When those kids got sent home from school, you guys really pivoted and recruited a lot of community members to help out, and it was a successful effort because of you guys not just saying, oh, they're out of school, shoot.
Right. Yeah, that was a very interesting time, but we like to say that those challenges really provided a lot of learning for us, and we've actually instilled a lot of what we've learned into the programming that we now offer today. But yes, it was quite the pivot. The far majority of our services are offered in close partnership with the schools. And so as you mentioned, when we were kind of anticipating that might happen, we were already preparing. And we actually put out a message the day that Governor Walz made the announcement that like, hey folks, like no worries, we will figure this out and we will continue our services. We didn't announce how yet because we were working on that.
Stay tuned.
But we did, we have such a wonderful base of just really committed stakeholders, both volunteers and donors, other businesses and nonprofits. And so we put the word out, the call to action, and everybody stepped up at once. And so with that, we were able to pivot very quickly. We had the funding we needed, we had the food we needed, we had the volunteers we needed. And that's really where we started to further develop that home delivery model. It's actually pretty cool. Have you done it before, Jess? I can't remember. I feel like
we did during the pandemic. Yes. Early on, we did one of the home drop-off routes.
That's what I thought.
Yep, me and my family did.
Yeah, and we make it very easy for volunteers. And so really, if volunteers sign up for like an hour volunteer spot, I mean, their delivery could be done within 40, 45 minutes. But you literally just back your vehicle up to our warehouse at a designated time. We have staff and volunteers that load the vehicle full of boxes that are intended for specific students. We give a route that is developed by the city of North Mankato and Bolton and Menk. They use their fancy GIS systems to make things so easy for us and our volunteers. And then the volunteers can use their navigation to drive to a home, and we kind of say like knock, drop, and go, especially during the pandemic when we wanted zero contact. But it's just, hey, here with the Backpack Food Program, leave the box of food, and you're on your way to your next stop. So it's fun for volunteers, though, and staff when we get to make those deliveries, because you often do have a brief interaction with either the family or, better yet, the youth themselves. And they'll either cheer, which, is like heartwarming and disheartening at the same time. It's just food. But Lillie had a wonderful little interaction with a very, very polite student recently too, and it's just kind of fun. I live in Eagle Lake, and so when school shut down during the winter break, or not winter break, but like when we have a snow emergency and we have to get food that
that day, I'm already driving there, so they're like, Lily can take the Eagle Lake houses. And I delivered to this one kid, and he answered the door, and he was just so polite to me. He was like, oh, yeah, thank you very much, ma'am. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I would have appreciated like a miss at all, but, ma'am is okay. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. And really, the more that we've done that, I mean, it works perfectly for our summer pack program, right? And so, although we've offered that summer pack service previous years, it's never been as fine-tuned as it is, which allows us to serve more students because we have greater efficiencies. So this summer alone, we'll be serving our largest volume of students. We have over 900 registered thus far, yeah.
And so kind of going on, and we've talked a little about how the program has grown and expanded, but you guys are not just serving the Mankato School District. It is a regional nonprofit.
Yeah. We work with 5 local school districts, so we're also working with the Maple River School District, Lake Crystal, St. Clair, Nicollet area, and then, of course, Mankato area public schools. And what I will say to that is that the only reason we're able to serve that 20 to 30 mile radius is because the communities themselves take so much, they provide so much commitment in making sure that they're a part of the process. So when we talk about deliveries, we'll use Lake Crystal as an example. They actually, on delivery days during winter break and or summer months, they bring a school bus and they back it up to our warehouse, and we load all of the Lake Crystal enrolled students into the bus, and the teachers will take it from there, and they'll drive the bus from home to home and deliver those food boxes. Yeah.
I mean, that speaks volumes about the importance of the program and the services that you guys are offering.
Yes, and they do that, I mean, on a weekly basis, even with our food packs. They have committed volunteers that come to our warehouse to bring the food packs or deliver them to their community, and it makes it a very well-oiled machine.
And if people aren't familiar, let's talk about that, the kind of the lifespan of the food pack, like how it gets packed, how it gets distributed. We can start it at your warehouse.
Yeah. So first off, we purchase the food. It costs us about $5 for one weekend pack, which roughly comes out to like $1 a meal. So we purchase all the food, and then it gets delivered to our warehouse. Those regular 2-day weekends, like your typical weekend, those come pre-packed for us. So then what we have to do from there is load them into bins by the number of students, and they're color-coded. So each school has its own colored bin. And so we load up, say there's 56 students at Franklin Elementary. We'll load 56 packs into bins that are the Franklin Elementary color, and volunteers help with that. When there's an extended weekend, we actually have to pack those by hand. Then we have to say, if there's a 3-day weekend or a 4-day or over winter break, we actually specially pack the bags so that it has all the food they need for that extra day of nutrition. And then it goes the same process of putting them in the bins. Once the bins are all packed, weekly our load and delivery team, which is a very core group of amazing volunteers.
Manly retirees.
Yeah, they're a pretty spicy group. So they come in and they actually help. A semi comes from Focp transfer, and they actually help load all those bins into the semi, and then they follow it from school to school, and they'll unload the bins at each school, and that usually happens on Thursdays. And so then once it gets to the school, then the teachers pick it up and they put it in the backpacks of their students when they're away at a break or at recess. So there's a lot of hands in the process, but it's very efficient at this point.
Yeah, we have our distribution teams as well. So there's opportunities for businesses to adopt a school, and they will go there Thursday afternoon and actually distribute the food packs to the teachers just to help them out a little bit. But yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. Do you guys know, or just a ballpark, how many volunteers are involved in the whole process throughout the course of 1 year?
Yeah, actually last year was our record. We had over 2,000 volunteers that were involved, and we have roughly 60 to 100 on any given week between our ongoing pack sessions, and then as Lily mentioned, just the weekly process takes so many hands to make it happen. Do you recall when we tracked how many hands typically are on each food pack? Was it 9?
I thought it was something like that.
Yes.
So the hands of 9 individuals.
9 individuals
to get one food pack.
Yep.
Home for a weekend.
No way that we would be able to reach the volume of students that we do on a weekly basis without that, as you can imagine.
We have 6 or 7 staff members. So there's already we'd need volunteers. So we couldn't do it alone.
Wow, that's incredible. What would you say is the most rewarding part of your job?
Do you want me to go?
You could go.
Okay. I have many. I mean, obviously, that's what keeps me in nonprofit, I think, just seeing the impact of your work and the efforts kind of come to fruition. But I think what I enjoy the most is just working with the myriad of community stakeholders. I mean, like I said, we have volunteers, we have businesses that donate their time and their dollars, and our board of directors is absolutely amazing. We have 17 board members. And just working with like such a large section of the community on a daily, weekly basis. I love just seeing our doors open and close and people are in our space. You never know who's going to show up at any given time, and it just kind of keeps us on our toes. It's fun. Yeah,
I'd say for me, it's always hearing from the families. You know, we don't have many opportunities to sort of connect because it is an anonymous program and an anonymous service. But we always send surveys at the end of the school year, and then we get those back, and it's like, mostly it's to help us figure out like, oh, what foods do they like and what don't they like? How can we improve our program? So it's helped us figure out different things. I mean, obviously the kids are always like, I don't like the vegetables, so, you know, but it helps us sort of like improve and fine tune what we do. But they also then tell us like, you know, how does the food impact your life? You know, like, or does it, you know, what's your story sometimes? And just those stories are so impactful, and just you know, sometimes you get kind of in this, especially me, I'm doing social media stuff all the time, so it's very, like, I'm not touching the food at a lot of different parts, but it sort of, like, helps you realize, like, everything you do is in service of this, you know, and you help ease the stress from them and make their lives easier.
I have packed as a volunteer at FOCP, and I know our team here at Apex before I worked here did as well, and that's I think a really impactful thing to be a part of, to be in your warehouse, to see and touch and have hands on this food and know that it's going to benefit and make a huge impact in the life of a local child.
Well, and I think that's why volunteers keep coming back too. I mean, it's a feel good, right? And like I said, we try to make it really fun and easy for our volunteers to be in and out in an hour within whatever role they're serving. But it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
absolutely. What about the challenges that you guys face as with your program and just as a nonprofit?
Yeah, well, how much time do we
Yeah, I know. I put that one in there and I was like,
this. No, I mean, I think we're facing just very similar challenges that many others are. Maybe just it looks a little different. But food supply chain issues have been a big issue for us. And one of the things that we do that makes us unique is that we also honor any and all dietary restrictions that a student might have. And so that throws an extra, steps, plural, into our process. And so what we're doing is we're also trying to seek out foods that can replace a traditional item that would be in that food pack or our regular menu. And it's been very difficult to find many of those items, along with just simple things. I mean, even on the front end of the pandemic, Easy Mac is something that our students love, and it's something that even a kindergartner can make, right, with a microwave. We could not find Easy Mac. We had trouble finding ramen, just the larger staples that are very common in our food packs, and that's continued. And of course, that attributes then to rising costs, as Lily mentioned. We're unlike a food shelf in that we don't rely on food donations to make our programming work. We have a very specific menu aimed at meeting the students' nutritional needs, and they need to be single serving and child friendly, and so that's just been an ongoing issue. And then on the flip side of that, it's also allowed us, you know, as we're seeking out supplements, to provide greater selection for our students as well. And so although it might be a pain in our director of operations, Tush, to find these substitutions, he's pulled a few hair chunks out. You know, we get by, and that's how we view it. Like, you know, our students are getting a different experience, and we're still finding something that, you know, will meet the need. And so just one of many. I mean, funding is always a challenge of sorts. We're 100% locally funded, but this community is just wonderful in supporting the effort. And so, yeah, we figure it out. Anything that you can think of top of mind?
Not necessarily. I mean, those are kind of the biggest things that we as an organization face. I mean, there's always ongoing things like dispelling misconceptions about hunger and things like that take a lot more of my work as the communications person. But, you know, it's sort of an ongoing challenge that we kind of take on. Yeah. You know,
you guys do a great job with it too. Beer, Brats, and Bourbon is the summer fundraiser, and it's just one of many community fundraising events that FOCP puts on, and that's in addition to the great work that you're doing to directly serve the children and the youth, and putting on an event of this size is no small feat in itself. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the behind the scenes work that goes into planning Beer, Brats, and Bourbon, and then let's talk about the event and let our listeners know how they can participate.
Yes. Well, as I alluded to earlier, we do have many committees that support our work, and this is just one of them. We have 15 community members that come together to really dig in and plan the event annually. This is our 6th annual event, and so again, we're using lessons learned and are offering a hybrid model, which we offered for the first time last year, following a 100% virtual offering in 2020. So I was telling you prior to recording today that this is kind of the first time we're transitioning back, as with many people, to what we would typically see in the style of the event. But we're still allowing folks to host their own backyard bash if they'd like, and we'll provide those party packages for them to do that. So we're expecting roughly 400 people on site. We really like this event because we're able to welcome folks into our warehouse. It does look a little different than it normally does. We have to ship product and food off-site to make room for those attendees. But we just provide this indoor-outdoor, really laid-back kind of block party feel. As you know, we have live music and a large stage outdoors. There's games, there's beer samples and bourbon samples and grilled fare. And it's just a really fun and spirited evening in support of our mission. But even the little bit that they are in the warehouse, you can kind of get a look and feel for who we are and what we do. And the warehouse itself really tells our story. So we look forward to kind of opening our doors to that.
Lily, let's hear the dates and the
the
ticket
fun
info
stuff.
and all the good stuff.
Let's go with the logistics. So the event is on June 23rd, which is a Thursday, and it's at 5:30 and goes... Well, we have an official end time, but it's always
10:30-ish.
Yeah, 10:30-ish. So, whenever you feel like it.
I was going to say, I've been there. I know I've been there past 10:30.
Yeah. It's a nice thing about hosting on site at your own space.
No one shuts you down.
It's like your own house, yeah. So June 23rd, 5:30 to 10:30-ish. We're going to have Nate Boots and the High Horses and the DW3 there, which are 2 local bands. We have 2 ticket options. Sheri mentioned our block parties. So that's if you want to host, we like to say 11 of your best friends, but it could be your coworkers or family, which might not be, friends. But you can host 11. It's technically for 12, so we count you in that. But you can host that at your house, and we give you everything you need to do that. So there's brats, beer, and bourbon. Obviously, we have some special games from Minneschlagen this year. I know. Pretty fun. Stay tuned on to find out what it is. And then if you wanted to attend the actual on-site event, we have tickets for that as well, so you get to actually be live and in person with all the rest of us. You can buy those tickets on our website, which is feedingandfueling.org. You go over to the Beer, Brats, and Bourbon tab and purchase your tickets, and then also there you can find more details about exactly what comes with that ticket price.
And are there sponsorship opportunities left?
Oh, there are. We have just had such wonderful support this year. It is presented by United Prairie Bank once again. And yes, if anybody's interested in sponsorship, they can reach out to me directly and I'll help connect them. Each of the sponsor opportunities do come with complimentary tickets to the event. So if you're looking for a way to get in the door without, having to kick in your own funds, it's a great way too. And then both our on-site and off-site options have access to our specialty curated silent auction. So, yeah.
Is that new this year, or is there's always a silent auction?
There is, but we've only...
Pay better attention.
Right, it's all good. We've always kept you busy in other ways. But the silent auction will be online again this year, so that's what makes it a little easier for those off-site attendees to kind of check that out too. Along with raffle and our fun games, our bourbon wall is back.
Oh, nice.
And it's growing.
Nice.
So
we've already started to pick up prizes and things, so our little racks of special beer stuff and bourbon is already growing, and the fun part is that us as staff members get to go pick it up and then maybe try a glass of beer at the brewery when we're there.
Whatever you gotta do.
Yeah. It's a struggle,
all in the name of Beer, Brats, and Bourbon.
Well, Apex is a proud sponsor of Beer, Brats, and Bourbon, and we have it on our calendar, and we're very excited to be up at the warehouse. And
we appreciate your support. We're excited
celebrating with you guys. What does the future hold for FOCP?
Well, we are continuing to grow. We're actually planning for that right now. We're on a fiscal year with the school year, and so right now we are budgeting and planning for all things next school year. And really our focus is going to be on our high school program as well, and just further expanding that to meet the need. Right now the services that Lily mentioned within our food pantry for high schoolers has only been accessible to our Mankato students, and we really want to make that available to students within all of the school districts that we serve. And so we'll just continue to reach students at whatever age and stage they're at if they're in need, if we're at all possible.
Yeah.
But a lot going on. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I don't have this on my list, but
Yeah.
I just thought of it. Are there communities, obviously, you guys are directly serving 5 school districts. Are there communities in the outlying areas or elsewhere in the state who have similar programs?
There are, and I will also say that if there's a listener that's interested in maybe bringing the program to their community, we did just add an application of sorts. It's more so just an information gathering form, but that is accessible on our website. Do you recall what page?
It's on the homepage.
On the homepage, so you can't miss it. Way to go, Lily.
It is at the bottom of the homepage.
Yes.
You got to scroll.
Just scroll a sec.
So we're always, we want to know where the need is so we can
Absolutely.
best plan and see how we may be able to help. But most closely related, Waseca has a similar program that runs in tandem with their food shelf. And St. Peter has a children's weekend feeding program as well. And we partner and resource share and all
Sure.
of that as much as we can. But yeah, we're here to help as needed and as available. So.
Well, you guys are amazing. Your program is amazing. We can't wait for Beer, Brats, and Bourbon. We're going to put a link in the show notes for anyone who wants to find out more about becoming a sponsor, getting involved on a volunteer level. Is there anything that you guys would like to add about feeding our community's partners, the Backpack Food Program, all your great programs?
I will just put a plug in for volunteers, I guess,
Yes.
since we're on that.
Yes.
If you'd like to get involved with Beer, Brats, and Bourbon, but maybe on a different level and score a really cool custom design free t-shirt, we do have volunteer opportunities available on our event page as well. And all of our volunteers, although they're kind of helping us carry out that work, will have the opportunity to sample some food and enjoy themselves as well. So you can find that link on our website.
All right. Well, Sheri and Lillie from FOCP, thanks so much for coming on the Build Blue podcast today. You can listen to the Build Blue podcast wherever you get your podcasts and also on YouTube.